Jaden and Drew.
Thank you for having us, Debbie.
Note the big box. Well, first of all, Jaden, how did this happen?
Wow, that's a really interesting question, Debbie. How did this happen, Drew? I mean, we've been following the Flint crisis for the past 5 or 6 years that's been going on. And we've been sending water, just water down there for that entire time. But we kind of felt like we wanted to add something more and give something more to Flint that, you know, wasn't just a bottle of water, because people are taking showers with it. People are cooking their food with it. People are living their entire lives with it. So, you know, if you have a 500 milliliter bottle of water, you know, in a 12 pack, it's not really that efficient if you're living your entire life. With this water, and the water that's from your city is just not safe. So we just decided that we wanted to give something to Flint to where they could actually have kind of a quick fix. Again, it's not a complete infrastructure re-over or redo like what they really need, but something that they know that they have their own source of clean water in Flint. Because without something like this, you know, Flint is completely relying on donations from people to their city for them to have, you know, free, clean water for them to use, how they should have. So, you know, we wanted to give this to them because there's no other source of clean water in Flint when the donations dwindle down. So in the first year, it started with like 2 million bottles of donations, then 1 million, and it stayed there, and then now it's going all the way down to 800,000. So they really, you know, I just wanted to give this to them and work on this with Drew because I felt like it was something that we were passionate about and something that we wanted to do and something that we felt like the community really needed.
And how did the Trinity Church become your first foray into this, Drew?
Well, one of the things that we always talked about is there's a lot of like missteps. People roll into problems and go, "Hey, I got a Band-Aid for you. This is going to work," and without actually doing any surveying, both physically and culturally, of the environment they're going into. So Flint is like a political minefield. There's been so much mistrust, and there's been so much malfeasance and diversion of money and kind of irregularity in politics, and that is it's the hangover from the complete failure of state and local leadership from an infrastructure standpoint. So we wanted to find out, how do you go to Flint? You can't just show up and be like, "Hey, we want to do something for you." How do you find the people that are there? And so we did a whole bunch of research, called a lot of people, and they said, there's this church in Flint that has stayed completely clear of all the political minefields. And they, every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, hand out, cars pull up like a drive-through, and they put 2 cases in and around. And so we also, this is one of the things is like this, it's totally naive and sophomoric to just be like, we're going to go create a machine, we're going to roll it in, we're going to give you the keys and say, aren't we doing a great job? That's not how this thing works. This thing needs boots on the ground. It's a programmatic approach beyond just engineering a box. And so this church was perfect because they have deacons, they're there, it's regimented, it's disciplined, and people know. And then we went up and met with them, and we're just very, you know, gentle and polite when we first, because it was a fragile situation, and now we were having dinner in the pastor's home.
So I take it that the response was really
awesome.
good?
Yeah,
the response was really
family.
good?
We love them.
Yeah.
So how are we going to see more water boxes, Jaden?
So, you know, we're doing this to raise awareness of what's happening in Flint because people are, you know, they think that the issues over there have been solved, and it really hasn't. For the past 5 years, people are continuing to struggle. People still need help. People still need clean water. So there's problems like this going on in Flint, but there's problems like this. There's, you know, just read an article about water in Kentucky, that people are having problems, like there might be lead in the water in Kentucky. There's lead in the water in Oakland.
There could be lead in the water here, let's
100%.
be honest.
So there's so many different infrastructure problems, and it started in Flint, but we don't know what's going to happen or what's going to attack next. So we're making these water boxes, and we're already working on our second water box. So, you know, we're just out there letting people know exactly what we're doing, showing them how they can make a difference. And anybody that wants to be involved with what we're doing at 501c3, they can come in and they can say, "Hey, I want to sponsor a water box. I want to put it here. I want to put it in Oakland. I want to put it here." So we're just dealing with all of those inquiries right now.
So are we telling everybody that they could all buy a water box?
Yes, we are telling
absolutely.
you. They can all buy a
And you really can. So you know where to find us. So
100%.
Sponsor a water box.
sponsor one.
If you want to buy it.
But actually, I would love to back up a second and talk about 501c3 and how you guys came together and how you've created this joint mission of amazingness.
Drew,
Yeah,
when
I
did
don't
we met like
What story do you want to tell?
I mean, we'll tell the long short story.
Yeah, the made for
We met like 10 years ago, Drew. How long have we known each other?
yeah, like over before Karate Kid, so over a decade.
Yeah, so
were
me
like
and Drew have known each other for like 10, 11, maybe 12 years. And when I was first, getting into the environment and learning about sustainability and learning about the plastics in the ocean and everything that was happening, greenhouse gases, and, I had this teacher who was teaching me all about the environment. And then I would go to my parents and I would be like, Mom, Dad, like, I'm so excited about this thing. This is crazy. Like, I can't believe this is happening. We have to do something about it. And they'd be like, Jaden, talk to Drew. He's the only one that's, really going to get
They were like, I don't have time for this.
yeah,
Go talk
I don't
to Drew.
have time for this. Go talk to Drew. So I went to talk to Drew, and then Drew was just like, oh,
was like,
okay.
let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about it. And then Drew had already had ideas of, starting a sustainable water company, and all these different really awesome ideas. And then eventually we got to the point where I was like, Drew, I really want to do this. I want to start with water because I see so many plastic balls of water everywhere. I feel like it's the thing, we're 70% made out of water. It's what we need to survive. There's always going to be a bunch of bottles of water, and the amount of plastic that they use and the amount of CO2 pollution that they emit with the production of these bottles of water is just ridiculous. And I was like, let's make an alternative. Let's make something with less plastic, and let's make something that emits over less than half of the amount of CO2 emissions that another bottle would be emitting. So that was the plan. And then 10 years later, we're here. We started Just, and he found the Tetra Pak. He found the Tetra Pak bottle. Where were you? Somewhere in Europe?
I found it in a garbage can in Florence, Italy.
Yeah.
But to throw something out, and I was like, oh, what's this? And I was like, I took it home and dialed the direct line.
Yeah.
And
then
they wouldn't, wait, they wouldn't return my call until I got your dad involved.
Yeah, totally.
And now they're like
Drew.
taking credit for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Literally, they're like, Drew, no. And then we got my parents involved, and then Tetra Pak was, they said they'd never made water before, and then we eventually got to the point where we got into Whole Foods, and now we're in the UK, now we're in Australia, we're launching in Japan, and we're just continuing to push more and more. And then it got to the point where me and Drew, we always knew that Drew would used to make these decks where he said, a Just water bottle was like extra small.
Drew makes great decks.
Amazing decks. Amazing decks. So in this amazing Drew deck, the Just water was the extra small, and then this was like the small. Right. So it was like extra small, this is the smallest impact we want to have, and then this is the next upsize impact that we want to have on the world, to where we can deploy these systems that they kind of look in the same colorway as a Just water bottle, but they're a completely different thing, and they're meant to do something completely different.
And as you work your way up that extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, we have, even though we haven't talked about it publicly, we'll probably be back here next year talking about it. This isn't Flint and can go anywhere, right? And it's a mobile, and it's a portable, and it's really affordable. But right around the corner in Cedars-Sinai, we've been quietly working on a project for literally 3 years. The same engineers that engineered the factory for Just Water started working on a project to recycle all of Cedars-Sinai's water. It's really epic, and it's totally under the radar. So we're actually going to do a video like this about Cedars, and this system it recycles and it saves 28 million gallons of water a year for the city of LA. It's really a fascinating system.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's cool.
Well, speaking of what the two of you just sort of put together, officially 501c3, which is such a cool name. So let's talk about the name and the mission and how that actually goes together.
So, I mean, we went with 501c3 being the name because, we kind of wanted to go for kind of like the Virgil effect, where we just like say exactly what it is, like shoe, like 501c3. This
like
is
water.
exactly, water.
And to educate too. People are going to be like, what the hell's a 501c3?
To educate people what a 501c3 is too, and just to be very basic and transparent on what we're doing. And it all started just from a bigger mission of us saying, hey, we started Just, people really like it. We feel like we're really making an effect on the world and making a change in the environment, but how can we continue to make a change in more of a direct space, like directly into a community, And my first idea was, hey, I want to put a water filtration system in Africa. I want to put it in India. I want to put it somewhere overseas. But then we started to think, we have so much problems here close to home that why don't we try out close to home and then continue to expand more and more places and continue to go global. So, 501c3 came from a place of me and Drew really being like, hey, we did something amazing, but let's continue to push the boundary. And also let's have something else where other young people around the world or everybody in general can get involved in what we're doing and feel like, this person can sponsor their own water box and say, I'm sponsoring a water box, I'm putting it in Kentucky because that's where I want it to be and because I know there's water problems there. And, they can feel like they're really acting through us, but are truly making an impact that they can immediately see. Everybody that sponsors a water box, they have say in what it looks like and where it goes or what they want. Because
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
How it looks.
Yeah.
Everybody that sponsors one, they get to decide where it goes, how it looks.
And they get each box has a website, so 501c3/city.
So you
and
could
on that is the
monitor
test
it.
results.
Yeah.
For the community, because the Flint, nobody trusts anyone. So the only way they're going to trust it is if they put the test in their hands and they test it and they go over and they type it into the computer and it populates immediately. So every day you can look and see how the water is. And it's not, don't believe Jaden and Drew, believe the guys in Flint that are testing it. So that same regimen has to happen for every box. That's part of the larger program, is that testing has to be done by the people that are going to drink the water. And if we can, teach them how to do it.
It's also a 501c3, literally, so it's an organization,
Yeah.
so you can actually do a donation
Yeah.
in the way that, we do it and,
100%.
Right.
But
And-
we want to make sure that everyone that donates, they know exactly where their money went, and
Definitely.
exactly why this is my water box.
Yes.
I've supplied this much water to the city of Flint. If it wasn't for me, it wouldn't happen. So that every person can feel like, wow,
Right.
I feel like I'm really seeing the effect that I had by this donation that I made. It wasn't something that just went
Right.
out of the window. It was like, wow,
Yeah.
I see that's my box, it has my name on it. I can update, I can check what's happening with it.
Right.
And just to add to that, on top of that testing thing, you can look and see days of operation, gallons served, and number of plastic bottles replaced. So the one in Flint has only been had 30 operational days, and it's given out, I think the last time I looked, 3,600 gallons of water, and we're almost going to hit 30,000 reduction of 30,000 single-use plastic bottles. 30 days.
That's amazing.
It's kind of cool.
It's
right?
amazing. Well, next year, you're going to hear an update about what the other things 501c3 is working on, because there is a million things in the pipeline here, and I'm just so proud to be a part of everything here with my guys, and this is incredible. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.